This is a show about the ferocious pursuit of incremental growth from the inside out. And it's also a show about whatever else I feel like talking about, no matter how random, irrelevant, or confusing the subject might be. You are listening to the Emotionally Excellent Man Show, and I'm your host, Jason McKenzie. Holy crap, it is amazing how fast time can go by. I'm up at the cottage, and which is absolutely wonderful. I love being up here. Although I will admit, I do struggle sometimes with downtime and taking downtime and recharging and all that kind of stuff. But I think I released the last Emotionally Excellent Man Show on August 7th, and it's quite shocking to realize it's the end of August right now. And so part of that is because I've been trying to figure out what's next for me. And I think it's for a lot of reasons. And one of them is because I've been really obviously focused on the idea of emotional excellence. And I recognize that that's a journey, but I think I also recognize that I have a long way to go, like obviously basically till I croak. And so I think I'm in a period of kind of reflection and retrenching, I guess, and recharging and looking inward. And I'm not sure how long that needs to go on. I mean, part of me has actually been thinking like there's so much. I feel like I'm not trying to make this sound like a martyr, because I've gotten as much as even probably more than I've given, but I've helped a lot of people. I've developed a lot of content. I've learned a lot. I've changed a lot. And there's this part of me that has been feeling like the outward looking focus, I don't know, maybe needs to change for a while, because I find myself getting super fascinated with a lot of different ideas that are all related to what you might want to consider spiritual work or looking inward or whatever the phrase is. And I mean, the things that I've been thinking about are like, doing a 10-day guided, 10-day silent meditation. I'm super fascinated about psychedelics, and it's, doing some facilitated psychedelic experiences to help me understand myself and altered states of consciousness. And I just feel like there's so much there for the world, not just for me. I mean, the psychedelics if you have some moral objection to psychedelics because you buy into the, drug enforcement agency, fuck off. Okay. I don't want to hear it. I know all the arguments, and I've also read an incredible amount of, on the other side, and how I think it was Michael Pollan who said, where the microscope changed our world, our view of, disease, and telescopes changed our view of outer space and our place in the universe. And psychedelics are going to play that role, with our minds and spirits and souls. So anyways, my point is I'm not trying to advocate for it really. I'm just saying that I'm very personally interested in having some of those experiences and seeing what I learned about myself. I'm also been thinking about my work has really good benefits, and I've been really thinking about, getting I don't want to call it a therapist. I think it's more like a coach / therapist or whatever. Not that I feel like I need therapy, but I feel like I have this amazing benefits where I could see and talk to somebody, and I feel like I'd be nuts not to take that up, right? Like, so I've been thinking about that too. But also, trying to understand my, what it means to be an entrepreneur versus what it means to be entrepreneurial, and what do I want to get involved in? Where do I want to grow? How do I want to help people? Part of me really wants to write a book. I want to write a book about emotional excellence, but I want it to be something that's truly significant. Like, I feel like with my last book, it was good. I mean, I'm not saying it was good. I'm proud of it. And I'm very proud that I took on a project of that magnitude and managed to see it through. Really quite pleased about that. However, maybe not however, I hate saying however, it's just a fancier way of saying but. And there's so much power in saying and instead of but. So, that was a significant achievement for me. And I want to write something even more significant, even more well thought out, even more researched. And, I feel like part of that journey and being able to speak about that authoritatively is really digging deep on myself and understanding my own mind and my own spirit and my own beliefs and my own mental chatter and all of that stuff. And I'm not 100, like, I'm not sure how much I can do that if I continue to focus outward and helping people and like all that stuff. I don't know the answers. Maybe there are no actual answers. I'm just really talking about like, this is kind of what I've been thinking about lately. I've also been finding things kind of overwhelming in some ways where I think the lack of certainty, I have a hard time. Do I have a hard time with lack of certainty? I'm not sure, actually, but I think there's just been a period of reflection, and I don't really do well with that because I feel like I should always be taking action. And I'm saying I feel a lot, but I think that belief that I've always got to be taking action, some kind of moving forward action and having a very clearly defined idea about what that is fucking stupid, actually. And it's kind of annoying. And it's funny how I'm noticing myself looking at content on social media, for example, and starting to find that type of thing more and more annoying. To me personally, not that it should be annoying to anybody else, or not saying anything about the people putting out the content at all. I applaud them for doing that. But I find myself being less and less interested in even being on social media. It's just, and I've gone probably through phases where I was on it too much. I don't feel like I'm on it too much right now. Like I often will, like if I leave the house, I don't bring my phone with me, for example, usually even if it's for all day, like, or if I do bring it, it's really, if it's with the kids or my family, it's mostly for the camera. Just drinking my cottage tea. So having said all that, so back to the entrepreneurial thing. This is all over the place. I don't know what that means for me. I do realize that I don't want to be the number one guy in a business. I'm not that guy right now, and I'm totally okay with that. Like, but thinking about that, I would rather support, be at a high level, but I would rather support, I think, somebody else. I just don't want to take it on. Like I've thought about starting another community, for example, maybe like Emotionally Excellent Men, but fuck that. I don't want to take that on right now and be responsible for, growing and moderating the community. Like it just doesn't really interest me at this point in my life. And becoming okay with that has been I wouldn't say that I am okay with it. I've been trying to figure it all out. So where the fuck was I going with all that? The point being, I love doing masterminds. That's one thing, but I don't want to do more than one. I was doing 3 earlier this year and I enjoyed it. I really did. But right now we've got one going with about 15 guys in it, and that is more than enough for me. I think part of what is actually causing me to think about all this differently is I also have a job that I fucking love way more than I ever thought I would, right? So, which is a great problem to have, and a great situation to be in. And so when I think about it, I think that is altering my perspective, because I went from, really wanting to be an online entrepreneur, say, and actually quitting my job and really being that being my sole focus for almost a year and a half, and like being fully enmeshed in it and learning about it and trying and failing and blah, 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 all those things, succeeding, learning, growing. And then all of a sudden I take this job, which I actually, at the beginning, my belief was I'm just taking this job because I failed at being an entrepreneur. What this job has turned into, though, has been honestly kind of beyond my wildest dreams. I mean, I'm building this incredible team. I'm applying everything that I'm learning, and it's fucking working, man. And it's working throughout the entire organization. I'm creating opportunities. I'm doing appreciative inquiry. I am, coaching people on their strengths. I'm building these awesome relationships, and on and on and on. It's fucking awesome. I'm traveling, like going to conferences and getting the personal development that I was paying for myself before, getting it paid for, and then applying it at work. And so I think I think part of what I've been thinking about is like this idea that I look at friends of mine, like I look at my buddy Larry, who's got this community of 10,000 people and he's built this online business as, phenomenal human being and he's having a huge impact. And part of me compares myself to him because I think, I'm not him specifically, but people like him. I think, what does it mean if I don't have an impact in the world at that scale? Does that make me somehow less than? Those are questions I've been wrestling with. And why would I even think that? Like, why would I even wonder that question? Because maybe I will make an impact at that scale. Maybe I won't. But I've already made a huge fucking impact. And by trying to grow and be myself, and I don't even know if making an impact is the thing that even matters, or if it's truly just trying to grow and serve, and whatever comes of that. So you can see all this shit that I'm wrestling with, right? Which you can see why talking to like a coach/therapist might be a good idea. Because another thing I'm doing is reading. I'm listening, not reading, I guess, quote reading The Untethered Soul. And I'm only probably 45 minutes into it. And, but what I realize is my fucking mind never shuts up, ever shuts up. And I listen to it way too much. And that's kind of what this book is about from what I can gather so far. So I've been really meditating a lot more, and that's been helpful for me. And that's something I want to pursue really for the rest of my life. So I've been using the Headspace app, and it makes me feel better. It really does. But reading this book has really made me realize, like, holy fuck, my goddamn inner voice never shuts the fuck up. And I am a victim to it way more than I even realized, right? Which is okay. That is what it is. And it's an opportunity for me to explore how I might be able to change that. And stuff like The Untethered Soul is I think, a really good first step in doing that. But it really makes me realize, like, and I wonder how much this applies to everybody, is that I don't need another fucking tactic. I don't need another strategy. I don't need more tools, like for like whatever, 5 steps to this, blah, blah, blah. Use this goal achievement framework. Fuck that. I've achieved a lot. What I need is to look inward and understand myself and develop mastery over my own mind, and to be able to, learn all the lessons, to be able to, that are there without judgment, and to be able to appreciate every moment. Like, that's, I feel like, what the next step is for me. I guess what I'm what I'm trying to figure out is, what does that all mean in the context of the way I interact with the world? Because there's part of me that just wants to turn it all off. I mean, I keep doing the mastermind, obviously, because I love it and I'm committed to it, but turn everything else off and just focus inward. But then I think that's what that's how I do shit, right? I go all in on stuff and blah, blah, blah. And so you can see how rambly this is. I've been talking to Tanya about this a lot this week. We had some time at the cottage. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I've had moments of great certainty where I knew what my path forward was. And then it's like you run into the fog, right? This clear path runs into some fog, and that's part of the process. And so I'm spending my time right now. Like, I know that for whatever I have done so far, that I can experience life more deeply and, in a richer way. And through doing that, I believe that I can even help more people. So that's kind of where my head has been at lately. And I know that was like a fucking massive brain dump. So, I don't judge you if you've stopped listening by now. But yeah, it's, there's something else I wanted to say, actually, and I don't know what it was. However, what I will say is, the other thing that's funny is, so I always have this feeling of, I know what I wanted to say. I have this feeling of not being good enough, right? Which is so fucked up because, or maybe even saying it's fucked up is a judgment, and I shouldn't do that. It's interesting because I look around, I got a fucking great life, man. Like, a beautiful wife, amazing kids, great job, run mastermind groups, have a podcast, got a nice house, fucking dog, not my dog, but I do like the dog. And we're up here at this gorgeous cottage, a family cottage with the sauna. We've gone tubing yesterday. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is pretty incredible. And I have created a lot of this, and I can't take any credit for the cottage. It's my in-laws, but regardless, in our family, we have this amazing cottage, and it's always available for us and all of that. So, like, part of me looks at that. I mean, I look at that and I go objectively and I go, okay, dummy, why? Like, I want to be just fully satisfied with that. I don't know if that's possible. Part of the reason I wonder that is because I've, read this book and I think it was episode 33 of the Mental Health Warriors podcast with Doug Brackman. He wrote this book called Driven. I've talked about it a million times. And it was really all about how there's a certain percentage of people who are driven. Those people are kind of never satisfied. There's like actual genetic reasons for it, and yada, yada, yada. And that book described me to a T. But so I don't know that I'm willing to accept that. So what he talks about is a lot of strategies where you can leverage that sort of like that knowledge about yourself and harness it for, to create incredibly powerful things. So, but to recognize that, you'll never be satisfied with things, and just to learn how to deal with it and to laugh at it and to, recognize it's part of who you are. I'm not so like, even though that book described me to a T, I'm not so sure I'm ready to just accept that right now. I'm just not so sure. So I feel like I want to try some other different paths, and this whole thing is just this voyage of discovery. And I just want to become more at peace and more interesting and be a lifelong learner, right? Because I'm never going to stop. In fact, the amount I'm learning is fucking constantly accelerating, I think. And sometimes I feel like that's part of the issue too, is I have a hard time focusing on one specific thing. And so part of, I fucking sound like a psycho. Part of like wanting to write a book, a very significant book, would be an opportunity for me to kind of like, explore myself and then think very, very deeply on a specific subject and learn on a specific subject for a while. And I don't know, maybe I feel like that would help me, block out some of the distractions. I'm not sure, but that's what I think one of the things that seems really appealing to me right now is that I have this, significant breadth of knowledge. And I wouldn't say it's a mile wide and an inch deep, but I would say it's like 10 miles wide and maybe a foot deep. But I would like to explore the idea of going very, very deep on a subject, and then intertwining my own personal growth with the exploration and writing of that subject, because I think that could really help me, and I think it could really help a lot of people as well. So anyways, that's where all that is. And so if you made it this far, it's a fucking miracle, and I applaud you. I barely made it this far. So having said all that, you guys have a great fucking day, and we'll get these podcasts going with a little bit more frequency. See you guys. Thanks for listening to the Emotionally Excellent Man Show. Now, go own your shit like the powerful, handsome boss man that you are.